was really little, I think I thought I wanted to be in the circus. And I had this vision. I used to play on a swing, and I would do this thing where I'd sort of stand up in the swing and turn around and sit down, and I thought, this is incredible. I've got such gymnastic prowess. I'm going to be in the circus. And I definitely had no idea of anything musical or anything. It was all about the circus. And then I think maybe later on I wanted to be in creative writing, something like that. But and then maybe later at school I wanted to be a clarinet player.
Anna Meredith. She writes music in big, brazen splashes of colour. Her music is upbeat and it's upfront. She might be writing for concert hall or for a club venue. She might be singing in a pop band or premiering huge multimedia orchestral extravaganzas at the BBC proms. She is always herself and she is always bold.
I went to a school that had a really great music department and a school system that had amazing after-schools music. Edinburgh has an amazing state school, orchestras, wind bands, choirs, and as quite a geeky, not especially popular teenager, I just chucked myself into this stuff and did something every night after school. And what was great is they'd start you at the beginner level, then you'd move to intermediate, so there was something for every level and you'd grow with it. And I made my friends there, and just I think I loved the performing. I loved being in the middle of the orchestra. I loved working through harder and harder repertoire, getting better at the instrument. I was learning percussion as well as clarinet, and I think that part of being part of a performance was a really new thing for me, and I didn't realise at the time, but I think I was starting to think creatively. I'd be playing music and be thinking, oh, I wonder why doesn't this piece end here, or why doesn't it do this? And I'd be sort of starting to think little creative decisions without actually identifying it as composing. I wrote a piece for one of those Yamaha keyboards with the single finger chords, and you had to change the sounds with your nose because the hands were too busy doing other stuff. And my teacher was like, oh, that's quite interesting. I wonder why I think you should keep do another bit of composing for the next set of Scottish Hires. And I just I enjoyed it. I hadn't come to it with any sense of fitting into a tradition or trying to sound like anything else. I just was having fun with those little pieces, and I think because I came to it that way, it gave me confidence to carry on thinking of it like that. Today, I compose in lots of different ways. I'm really lucky to have a studio, which makes such a difference. I've spent most of my composing life, in my bedroom, in a soup splattered pajamas, crawling out of bed and writing in the same room that you live. And of course, loads of people do that, and I did it for most of my life, and I'm not criticising that, but it does make it very difficult to have any kind of separation between your life and your work. So I'm really grateful to have a studio in Somerset House. Sometimes the ideas don't actually come to me there. I actually quite often find the ideas come to me when I'm walking. So as I'm walking to my studio, I quite often sing little things into my phone, little memos of little snippets of ideas. And they're not ideas that come out of nowhere. They'll already be because I'll have an idea of a shape. I do this thing when I write pieces that I have a sort of map, graphic map of the music before I begin. So I'm already kind of auditioning, trying out ideas in my head. So as I'm walking into to work, I'm trying to already think of ideas, and it kind of helps me to come into the studio with some little, just 1 or 2 second seeds that I can work on. I was really lucky that after college, me and some other composer friends started a little group called the Campbell Composers Collective. That at the time, I don't think there was much else kind of like it, in that we were groups of composer friends who put on little concerts in jazz club in Campbell and had a radio show, and it was a kind of safe space to try stuff out. We'd all do little experiments, we all performed, we all wrote little bits of electronics, did stuff for visuals, but it was kind of very informal, and we spoke to the audience about what the pieces were. And I think that having the security of doing that with friends and feeling like we weren't just sitting waiting for other people to come to us, that we could have the initiative, it really stayed with me, so that later on when I felt for myself that I wanted performing and electronics to be a bigger part of what I did, I already had that seed of feeling like I can take control myself. It doesn't just have to be about other people coming to me. I think one of the hardest things is, for a lot of composers, that balance between the amount of time it takes you to write a piece and the fact that probably it's just performed once and not recorded and never heard or played again. And that idea of working on something for months that just happens once for whatever minutes, I find that really, really hard to live with. You know, to every day be thinking, okay, I'm working on developing or honing this moment, but will anybody actually notice it? You know, of course that sounds like a very lazy attitude to be thinking, but you're thinking, what's the point for something that's just going to be gone? So I found that quite hard, and there was definitely a few things where I'd worked unbelievably hard and poured everything into a piece, and it felt like it just didn't matter. I'm really excited about this mix of pieces because they do come from a range of time, but they all have something that was a sense of development or progression for me. You know, Axeman's a really early piece. It was one of the ones written with the Campbell composers guys, and a real experiment for me. In fact, I think it was the first piece I ever did with any electronics at all, even though it's just amplification and distortion of bassoon. But that idea of something a bit playful, of turning one thing into something else. You think it's a bassoon, but it sounds like an electric guitar. You know, it's a really simple idea, but it's a really well played. People play that piece a lot. It's probably my most played piece, and yeah, and I still like it. So I think it just kind of comes down to a do I still like it sort of sense. I love how varied my work is just now. And I also love that I don't always totally know what's going to be happening next year or the year after. You know, I'm now doing a complete mix of performing, writing films and installations, remixes. I write stuff for my band for albums, and I do, you know, commissioned work. I do some presenting, and that breadth is massive. Funny that there's been certain things that I've done that I never, you know, I've written pieces the first night and the last night of the proms, which was, you know, I would not have believed as a younger composer would be possible. And, you know, they were both incredible, terrifying, amazing experiences. And yet you sort of find that it's not like you stop and you go, well, that's that then, I never want it, that's, you know, that's music done for me. It's an evolving thing. So, I mean, definitely with the band, I feel that the stuff I want to do, the music works best in big contexts, and so that's definitely growing. It's definitely growing behind maybe other sides of what I do. So, and that's got you know, it's got some momentum behind it. So I'm hoping we can, you know, keep playing to big audiences, be able to think more theatrically in terms of performance. Be able to, you know, make it more of a visual thing. I would love to write a musical at some point. I think that'd be really great to do. I'd like to write a piece for a roller coaster. That's on my list. There was something else that I thought I wanted to do that day. Computer game music. I think that would work well. Yeah, there's just lots of stuff I'm kind of up for giving a go. It's because so it's not like I'm going and I'm going, oh great, a day to Thorpe Park. It's not that at all. I'm absolutely petrified. But I come off feeling, I mean, pathetic though it sounds, and it is. I feel like I've pushed myself to do something that scares me, and that weirdly helps me to push to do things that scare me in other parts of my life.